Okay, week three. So with week three, you really have your first kind of your introduction lesson or lessons done with background skills. So now you're really getting into the meat of either your inquiry or project based. Now with that, so with this is when I gave our students their voter turnout survey. They had to ask 3 different adults about how they could um, help increase voter turnout. So the students took this home as a homework assignment. They had to interview 3 different adults. I gave them a couple days to do this, and then when they came back, I got a big sticky note and I recorded the class responses on this giant sticky note. And then as a class, we talked about, okay, how many people didn't vote, and if they did vote, why did they vote, and some people, why did they not? And then we gathered ideas about how can we increase people voting in the election. So with that, then I broke the students into different groups in my class, and then they had this project proposal, and so they as a group had to come together and decide, okay, how can they increase voter turnout in their neighborhood. And so they went through and they filled this out as a team. And then after they did that, I gave them a 45-minute class period, so I gave them the rest of the time. And then the next day, everybody shared their project proposals with the class, and we voted as a class which project that we were going to carry out. And so each class had a different project they were gonna carry out. Some classes ended up being pretty similar. I learned something very well that you might want to, if you be careful how much that you need to help the kids with the project, because you can end up burning yourself out, because having 6 different projects going on at the same time can be overwhelming if you're not quite ready for that. So there might be ways that you can make sure that you can work with that as you go through. So it was a little bit crazy having 6 different projects going on, but it worked out extremely well. So each class decided on the project to increase voter turnout, and then they had to carry out the project to increase voter turnout. And I had some really great results, and we'll talk about that more in week 4. That's the project-based learning. So again, with that, some tips is that you could end up having maybe 6 different projects going on. If that is something that might be a little stressful for you, you might want to have it and you have all of your classes vote on just one, so you can decide how you want to do that. Or if there's ways that you can find to turn it over, it should be really student driven, so they should be doing all the work, and so making sure that you're doing that. Now with the inquiry lesson, with the assignment of Joe Hill, what that basically was, with my kind of third and fourth lesson, we had first one, they were just kind of getting to know who Joe Hill was, and then the next day we went back in time to the actual trial. And so what I did with my students is I modeled for them, like I gave them, this is the evidence from the trial. I said, okay, you are now the new jury, and you're deciding if you think Joe Hill is guilty or not. And so we're going to be looking at this evidence, and we have to decide, like, what kind of, what evidence does it give us. So this is the evidence from the trial, all the witness statements and stuff like that. There's a little thing about after the trial. And I gave them the map the second day. So the first day we kind of did the biography, and this is their organizer that I gave them to help them break down the information. So the first day we did the biography, and we did a little snapshot of his life, and then we started going through the witness statements. And so I went through and I had my kids highlight and annotate this evidence as we went through, and then go back and refer to the organizer. Because I said, okay, when the name is bolded, that means that's part of them being a witness. So I went through and we did the first page together, but I made sure the students, did as much of it as possible. So I said, okay, in Nellie Mond's home, this is what she hears. And so then we go down here to the evidence sheet, and I had them fill in, okay, what Nellie Mond, okay, summary of her statement, what did she see? And does that evidence support him being guilty or not guilty? And I had the students decide. I was highlighting and annotating with them, but with the summary statement, I helped them summarize it, but I did not write down my thoughts at all. I said, you guys have to decide, does what she saw, does that make Joe Hill look guilty or not guilty? Okay, and I kind of modeled for that. And then for the rest of after the first page of kind of evidence and us walking through kind of that process of historical thinking and also thinking about perspective and summarizing that stuff, I turned it over to the students and I did it with a partner. Okay, and then the next day I actually did the map, and so the kids got a really good visual perspective of what things were going and kind of also the scale of things. And the map is so interesting. Can I just tell you, that was so great. And the students could include evidence from the map as well, along with these people's statements, so they can say, oh, give a perspective of that. There's also other evidence that's not included in those summary statements that I had them take from the map and put on here as well. And that's what they did the second day. Okay, and then completing this will be the last day. So that's kind of gives you an idea of when you're developing your lessons. I kind of went through it and I made sure with developing this, there are some words that I went in here and I modified and changed a little bit to help the kids make sense of everything. And I also, when I was going through, and I actually made like 3 different versions of this graphic organizer that I started off with. And I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy with my scrolling, but here we go. I had kind of 3 different things and wording. We went back and forth on quite a lot of these things, but this is kind of what we decided what worked really well, and it actually worked really well when I went through and did it with my students. So just remember, again, it's going to be kind of rough draft, and then as you work through at the end, you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. All right, good luck.